Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Pre-Market News and Views by In the Money Stocks. Today is Wednesday, July 24th, 2013. Thank you, and let's take a look at the charts. We're going to start off with the usual S&P 500 E-mini futures. You're going to see something a little unusual here. Futures are trading higher by about 5 points this morning to roughly around 1,693 and a quarter, 93 and a half. Futures are turning down a little bit, but one thing I am noticing, and I wasn't going to start out with this, is the dollar-yen chart is just taking off to the upside. So dollar-yen, the dollar is just screaming higher against the Japanese yen, and often that will keep the markets buoyant. So keep an eye on this chart today. If this chart starts to revert lower, it could be very, very problematic for the stock markets today. So one thing I am noticing is that this chart is just flying to the upside right here on volume. It's a pretty solid move. But if this chart starts to come back down, that ultimately could be problematic for the U.S. stock market. Remember, that carry trade that's in place. Meanwhile, what happens is institutions are shorting the yen, and they're taking those proceeds and they're going out and buying equities in the U.S. That's what's happening. But if this starts to go lower again, that could be really, really problematic. That's not a normal move to see right now in the dollar-yen chart, especially when most people in Asia are sleeping right now. So again, very unusual movement, but it is what it is, and we'll see how it plays out going forward. But once again, we're going to watch that chart very, very closely today. Futures are just up 5 points. They were up a little bit higher. Again, not a bad move for the futures, but we've been accustomed to seeing this now almost each and every day. Markets higher before the opening bell. Yesterday was pretty much a similar scenario, a little bit of a flat open, and the markets traded down a little bit on the NASDAQ and traded up on the Dow. It was just a mixed bag of tricks, but nonetheless, you did see a lot of weakness yesterday with earnings. Now, talking about earnings, we do have a lot out here today. The big number last night was obviously Apple. Apple's sitting right around 438. I honestly don't think Apple gets above 442. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see the strength in the stock. I don't see the pattern there. Just not seeing the stock really show anything. The numbers, which were already lowered, were really not all that spectacular. Looking forward, it just looks like Apple's growth has stalled out. And the excitement that we had 3-4 quarters ago is gone. So while the company's still a powerhouse, they have a ton of cash on hand. Yeah, but they're not the company they were. They're not growing at that rate, and that's what the market cares about. The market cares about forward growth. That's why you see stocks like Amazon trading at a P/E ratio the way they do, because they have forward growth. As soon as that forward growth slows down, a stock like Amazon would just get annihilated. And you saw that with Apple when it traded at 700. Once that growth is no longer there and the growth becomes stagnant, the stock sells off. So again, I know people are a little bit excited over Apple. It's in a range. I don't expect the stock to get above 442. So we'll leave it at that today. Looking at some other big earnings today, you had Caterpillar this morning. They warned, they guided lower. We have some gap levels for Caterpillar. So come on over to the chat room at 9 o'clock. They'll be posted up there. But either way, Caterpillar really at this moment in time, I just don't see a whole lot there of upside. We will find some levels, though, where we could find some intraday trades on the stock. But again, Caterpillar coming out, guiding lower. They really didn't have anything to say. I mean, I just heard the CEO on CNBC give a little interview, but what's there? The truth of the matter is China's slowing. They even stopped construction on the world's tallest building. So I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but nonetheless, the construction spending in China is slowing, and you saw what happened to the oil and to the gold miners out there, silver mines. I mean, they've all really contracted in a big way, so that's going to hurt Caterpillar. Some other news, earnings out there. Ford came out this morning, so you want to watch Ford. Nothing I'm seeing all that spectacular here for Ford, but that's a big one. And then PepsiCo, I believe, is also out. PepsiCo rallied up, then took a nosedive. So we have a ton of earnings out here today going forward. NSC, Norfolk Southern Corp, that's another one selling off after earnings. Big railroad stock. Stock that is doing well is VMware, We're going to have some levels on VMware too. I'll post those up at 9 o'clock. So just a host of different stocks here. We have a lot of gap plays today. Today's probably one of the more one of the days that we have a lot of gap plays in the works. So again, if you want that, come over to the chat room at 9 a.m. By the way, I will be conducting a webinar on how to find the morning gap plays. That will be tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. So again, I will be conducting a webinar tomorrow. If you want information about that, just come on over to the website. But I will be conducting a webinar tomorrow on how to find the morning gap plays, turn yourself into a 60-minute trader, and you could wrap the day up pretty early. But I'll show you how I find the morning gap plays each and every day, how I get my levels, how I post them up in the chat room at 9 o'clock. All right, let's take a look at a few other things out here. Last night in Asia, for the most part, Shanghai was down about 0.5%. Nikkei 225 was down about 0.3%. The Hang Seng, which is Hong Kong, was higher. So we're not going to make too much out of the Asian markets today. In Europe, German DAX is up 1%. FTSE 100, which is England, they can print their own money. That's up 0.8%. And the French CAC 40 having a big day. That is up, I believe, 1.25%. You're also seeing strength in Spain and Italy, which are both up about 1%. Now, it looks like there was some economic news earlier regarding the Eurozone flash PMI, manufacturing PMI. It looks like it rose a little bit. So I think they had a reading of 50.1. Last month's reading was 48.8. So a reading above 50 shows expansion. And we'll see how that plays out. But so you're getting a positive flash PMI reading. I don't know how much we could read into it, but it is a positive news event. I'm thinking that's what's lifting the European markets this morning. China's flash PMI last night declined to 47.7, which indicates further contraction. Last month was 48.2. So China is just contracting in a big way. So I think we have to watch for that going forward. I believe at 9 o'clock we're going to get the U.S. flash PMI. I believe economists are expecting 52.5 or 52.6. Last month was 51.9, so we'll see if that happens. We're also going to have home sales data released for the month of June at 10 o'clock, so we'll see how that plays out. I could always never know. That could be a little bit of a market mover, and we'll see how that shakes out going forward. As we talked about before, there were a ton of earnings that were released today. But either way we slice it or dice it, for the most part, I'm not seeing a lot of strength on the revenue side. Revenues have been declining on all the big companies. Yeah, anybody can beat earnings per share by a penny, like Apple, like Alcoa. But the reality of it is, can you make your revenue numbers? Revenue numbers seem to be declining, and that's something I think everybody should be well aware of. Taking a look at the gold market today, what we're going to see here is that gold is trading higher by about $3. Gold is showing very, very good strength recently. It probably needs to take a breather a little bit and pause, but if you take a look at the GLD, you'll see that has come in off the highs a little bit. That's trading right at 129.12. Yesterday closed at 129.71. Remember, GLD will trade till 4 o'clock, where spot gold will close at 130. So again, nothing terribly wrong with gold. Holding steady ahead of the opening bell today. When we look at the oil markets this morning, what you're going to see here is that light sweet crude is trading down about 37 cents. The irony here is that Brent crude is trading down 78 cents. Brent crude is actually lower right now than light sweet crude. So Brent crude is trading at 107.64. Light sweet crude, I apologize. Light sweet crude is trading just slightly lower by less than $1, but light sweet crude is at 106.84, down about 39 cents. But Brent crude down 80 cents at 107.62. So those two, Brent and oil, which usually have a big spread in between them, are very, very tightly correlated at this moment in time. Let's take a look at the USO, which is a good proxy for light sweet crude. And you'll see that had a little bit of a spike yesterday, and now it's really trading right around the 37.94 level. I think oil is overbought at this stage of the game, but I've been a little bit wrong on it. It has gone a little bit higher. We'll see how this all plays out going forward. Looking at the Futures again, we'll see that the futures are now trading higher by $4.75, but that dollar-yen chart just keeps soaring off the board. So some funny business going on there. But if this thing starts to come back down, that could hurt the markets. Before we sign off today, I just want to talk quickly about bond yields. And one thing we will see today is bond yields are trading higher. They're trading at 2.556%. That's up about 4.5 basis points at the moment. So bond yields are higher ahead of the opening bell. That is generally a negative for the stock market. So keep that on your radar going forward. And I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. A lot of earnings out here. We're going to have a ton of them in the chat room at 9 o'clock. So if you want those, come on over to the chat room. I will see you all shortly. Have a great trading day, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Take care, everybody.